Well, James mentioned something at the end of his take that I wanted to continue on the path of. So he mentioned what ifs. Like there are more what ifs on this Florida State team going into 24, definitely than 23, and probably even more so than 22. So, George, we'll start with you in regards to what are you most maybe concerned, might be a little bit too strong, but just have questions about that this team needs to tackle in the spring and in August.
Yeah, for sure. So I got one for offense and one for defense. Defense is kind of the obvious one. I really like what we got coming back at D tackle. I think we've got a ton of options at DN that they've brought back. Really love the young safeties, the corners, especially with Zaria Thomas. Linebacker, there's just not experience coming back. Luckily, we were able to get DJ Lundy come back. So really interested to see his next step. We've brought in a young guy like Sean Murphy. We've got some second and third year guys in Omar Graham Jr., Blake Nicholson. Really want to see what that competition looks like. And when you get to the spring game, what does that level of play look like, and what's there going to be planned moving forward? Really like to see a more experienced linebacker, at least one come in possibly after that spring portal period. And then on offense, really getting into what James said and kind of breaking it down, how it's so similar to 2022. In 2022, for different reasons, we were kind of gutted at wide receiver. We didn't lose them to the draft. We just didn't have any receivers over 6 foot. It was kind of a rough time. And Florida State goes out and gets 4 guys out of the portal. You sign this guy, and bam, they hit town, and just not much production in the past, but they just explode. Big time playmakers like Johnny Wilson. I think there's a potential for that for this wide receiver core. I think Malik Benson can be, one of those next big guys. He hasn't done it. The stats aren't there, so it's a lot of projection. But that's kind of what we're talking about when you're talking about a question mark or, a wide receiver position that just you're not sure who the leaders are going to be. I'd love for Hakeem Williams to step up and become that dude, become the leader of the clubhouse. But you also got a guy who is his kind of rival in high school, Jalen Brown, coming over from LSU. You've got a Jalen Lucas, an experienced cat from up north who's going to come in and, he's going to play a lot like Megamind, our guy Ja'Kai Douglas, who also returns. Is he going to be more in the running back room or the wide receiver room? So right there, just kind of seeing what the skill guys do and what they're going to figure out at linebacker, I guess, are my 2 position units to look for.
Who has to prove what to you, James?
The biggest thing is you've had such really good quarterback play for the system. So you need to find out how good is DJU. If DJU can, and I'll be honest with you, it's not that he needs to do anything outside of what he's been asked to do. Everybody talks about him like he was just like he got benched at Clemson, but he also led Clemson to an ACC championship, and he got benched during the ACC championship game. I believe both years he was 23. He was basically 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I prefer that his interceptions go down. He does not fumble the ball. A lot of people say he doesn't run physical. I don't need him to run like Jerome Bettis. I need him to throw the ball and be a willing runner. He doesn't. He's not. I say all that to say is he's not a turnover machine. If we can get those interceptions toned down a little bit more and have everything else clicking, I think that's all leadership. Our quarterback runs our offense. Like, can you keep a defense honest on the zone read? Can you make the right reads on the RPO? Are you going to be tremendously accurate? Now, we can't be at 58% accuracy. We probably got to get a little bit higher. But I think something that we have now in a wide receiver room that we haven't had outside of Pokey is we haven't had a guy who can take the top off of a defense. Like but now you've got 4 wide receivers that are damn near Olympic level speeds in the 100. So you got, decent, like I said, not necessarily Usain Bolt, but you got 10.5 or greater. So I like that. I also like Roydell Williams in that the running style and the patience he has. But
we got breaking news, guys. Sorry to interrupt you.
Let's take it.
Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers.
Oh, he did take it. Okay, yeah. Finally, let them out of it. So I think they must. He's not just. They must have known I was coming. They have their idea. Either they're gonna go in house or something. Got to.
I'm already looking at what linebackers they got. I wonder if they've got anybody that Randy likes. That'll be the talk of the timeline tonight for sure.
Oh
man,
that would be interesting. Remember there was rumors about Brian Kelly going. Yeah. And one thing too, Mark, we made some adaptations. I want to know what, and I don't like how I watch the game differently than everybody else, and a lot of people, even fans, even FSU fans, they talk about how bad the offensive line is, and if we look at the offensive line, and I think they can always get better. There's improvement. There are things that need to improve. The offensive line is the spine of the offense, right? You can't have a good body without having a stable spine. Or if you want to not go that drastic, a core. You can't, anybody who does things that are very great, you cannot have a bad core. You can't lift heavy if your core is unstable and not solid. Even those guys with guts that lift a lot, they got solid cores. Go punch the gut. The gut is pretty solid. The muscles there are good.
Like Pimp My Ride. They putting all the TVs and shit in the cars, but they got no drivetrain. They got a motor that works.
You got to have a motor that works. But I say that to say is I don't think people understand how difficult it is to average 450 yards of total offense with a good line. If Florida State's offensive line is that bad, and it's balanced, meaning they do it with the run and they do it with the pass. A lot of the sacks that Florida State gave up, if they go back, they'll tell you they're attributed to Jordan Travis, maybe holding on to the ball too long and spinning into things, spinning into sacks, and not being willing to run. I don't think people realize that there's some things in there that when I watch it, this is why I like Roydell Williams. His patience in the running game is what makes him good. It's a reason why Trayshawn Ward was not a better back, a different back. So while there are things that we would love to see, road graders and stuff like that, pushing people around, but our offensive line is fun. Now where we're weak at is we're not deep. Like we're trying to get deep. We're a little bit better, but we're still not. We're not 2-3 deep at positions of need. So I would like to see how that works this spring as well. But I'm really looking at DJU. The fan base has embraced him and his dad. It would be awesome if he's as good as what we believe he can be.
Mike Norvell brought in a Navy SEAL. I don't know if that was today, sometime in the last few days. Guys seem to be pretty impressed with that. Are you a big believer in that kind of stuff, James?
It was the Thursday before where everybody was saying that. Do you remember there was Mike Norvell, the Florida State's called an emergency team meeting.
DJ Shipley.
If people thought Mike Norvell was preparing to tell them he was going to Alabama, that's when the Navy SEAL came. That's when the Navy SEAL came. And that's what I was telling people. I'm like, yo, like I actually told people on the timeline. They're like, Mike's leaving. I said, they had an emergency team meeting. I said, they met with a Navy SEAL. I talked to Luke Cromahawk, one of the freshman quarterbacks. He was pumped. He was like, yo, I happened to have been in Tallahassee too at the same time. I didn't go see the Navy SEAL, but like those things are cool. Like when you do in the off season, they'll bring a speaker like once a month. Like sometimes the motivational speaker, sometimes it's an educational thing. I remember the drunk driving guy. There would be a guy, they made you wear glasses of like what it's like.
Those are tough.
They always take it to the next level. Always take it to the next level. Like, here's what it looks like with one drink. And it's like, all of a sudden you can't see anything. So, it is what it is. Like,
yeah, I just think what those guys put themselves through and what they're asked to do, and it's just.
I think him and Storms go back. I think Storms is the guy that got him up there, and that's kind of, the SEALs and the BUDS training and the different SEER training that different military branches do. That's kind of the idea of what tour duty is. That it's break you down mentally to build you back up. And like, if you can get through that with your boys, then, you become, much closer and prepared. So really cool. I'm sure that was great for them. Whether you want to take the military terminology, neither here nor there. I love the whole idea around it, and the brotherhood it builds. Like James always talks about mat drills, and that's something that's got weaker and weaker over time. So I like us being on the cutting edge of getting out there and getting after it and getting these guys to build some brotherhood amongst each other.
Off the top of my head, George, in regards to linebackers at Michigan, their two best players there, they only play two linebackers. They're off to the NFL, Junior Colson, Michael Barrett. However, their third guy who rotates in a ton, he was all Big Ten freshman at Nebraska the year before, and he rotated in, transferred to Michigan and played quite a few snaps, Ernest Hausman. So he might be a guy that you might want to look out for.
Now with the new rule, yeah, he could jump right back in if he has no major loyalties there. We'll see. It's just
but he did play at Michigan this last year.
Yeah. Good deal.
And
Love it. We could use somebody with experience, that's for sure.